The next day. 1 shift later.
3 weeks later. Many months later. 3 days later. 1 eternity later.
Several song-filled hours later.
Day 3. Tomorrow.
298 frozen patties later.
2,000 years later.
The following Thursday.
A few inches later. 20 minutes later.
80,000 impressions later.
Would you please stop imitating me? It is starting to get very annoying.
The next day. 3:28 a.m. 7:59 a.m. 8:01 p.m. A few moments later.
5 minutes later. 15 minutes later. 1 hour later. 1 week later. A little later. Meanwhile, at the Krusty Krab.
1 hour later!
2 minutes later.
A few hours later.
Several bad puns later.
Several days later. 3 days later.
7 minutes later.
A lot of musical instruments later.
A whole flowers later.
1 high school graduation later.
1 little pungy chunky later.
1 Christmas stage later.
Later. 1 hour later. 2 hours later. 3 hours later. 346 minutes later.
Tomorrow for sure.
Flashback. End of flashback.
See next morning.
3 hours later.
12 seconds later.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.